just tell you a story. Yud Tes Kislev is a Yom Tif of Chassidus, that we learn Chassidus, that we harder than Chassidus, that we have a deeper perspective on life. And Tzaddikim said that every revelation of a deeper dimension of Torah did not come cheap. Whether it was the revelation of the Zohar, or the Kabbalah after Spain's expulsion from Spain in 1492, the scholars of the Arizal, the coming of Chassidus after the Gzeiros of Tach, 1648, 1649. Whenever you need a revelation of a deeper level of Getla kind of godliness, there's a price to pay, and the price is blood. Now, let me tell you a story which hit me. I was in Miami Beach, Florida, a few years ago. A rabbi told me a story. There was a lady there, we'll call her Mrs. Spritzer, who was married for 9 years with no children. On the 10th anniversary of marriage, she was blessed with quintuplets. In one go, 5 kids. Before she gave birth, the family lived quite a modest lifestyle. Now they were plunged into poverty. There was a lady in the neighborhood, called her Mrs. Gordon. She heard about the dilemma of this family, that 5 kids, quintuplets, all of a sudden. She helped them financially, the mother, got furniture, got cribs, got all what you need. One day she comes to the apartment to see how her friend is faring, and suddenly, she looks at the picture on the wall, and she chalishes, she faints. They rush her to the hospital, and the next day, the recipient of her benevolence, the young mother of the quintuplets, goes to visit this old Mrs. Gordon in the hospital. How are you? First is, who was that picture on the wall? It's my mother. Is she alive? Unfortunately, she passed away last year. He says, what made you faint? So I'll tell you the story. They were Nebuch in Bergen-Belsen, in a concentration camp. And it was Chanukah. And there was a group, a small handful of girls aged 14 to 16. Despite living in mamish, the depth of hell, they were determined to keep as many mitzvahs as possible. And Chanukah was coming up. They took the little slab of margarine they were given and they melted it down. They had the oil. They took little parts of the garments and made them into small wicks. But they didn't have a keli, a receptacle, a menorah, a kid. They decided there's 5 minutes throughout the 25-hour cycle where there's no guard in the kitchen. 12 midnight to 12:05. They're going to go and try to steal some potato peels. And in the potato peels, they'll put in the makeshift oil and the wick. They were caught by a guard, these 5 girls, and they were told, names were taken down, their numbers, they're going to be hung and the gallows publicly in front of all the camp tomorrow, midday, first day Chanukah. What do you do? Where do you turn? It's the middle of the night. There was one girl they knew who was not part of their group in their barracks. She spoke numerous foreign languages. She had her own private residence. She had a radio. And she would translate BBC, different broadcasts in different language into German for the sake of the Nazis. She was used for that. And she was given special privileges. And they thought to themselves in the middle of the night, they're tossing and turning, maybe she could put a good word in on their behalf. And they went to her place, a little butkala where she lived. She's not home. They're going back, and suddenly they hear singing. They follow the song, the melody. In the forest near her butkala, they see this girl with the special privilege, the linguist. She's lighting a Chanukah. Chanukah. And she's singing Mosur, a traditional song. And they plead with her, maybe you could intercede, maybe you could spare our lives. She says, get out of there. If you don't get out of here, out of my face, I'll get you hung not in the afternoon, 12 o'clock, you'll be hung early in the morning. Get out of here. Scrap, beat it. They left. Next morning, midday, the whole camp gathered. These 5 girls were pointed at them, brought out of line. They're going to be hung for the crime of stealing the potato peels. They had the noose of the gallows around their neck. They're waiting for the chair to be kicked. And suddenly the girl with the radio goes over to the commandant and she whispers and is gesticulating vividly, like something's going on. And finally, the commandant, like, very irate, he takes off the noose off their necks, says, get out of here, he gives them a kick, and I want to see you again. A few days later, that camp was liberated. A little while afterwards. He said, your mother saved our lives. But in the bedlam following liberation, we never had the chance to say thank you to her. And I saw her picture there on your wall, and I wanted to say thank you. And therefore she fainted. Suddenly the young mother of the quintuplets, starts crying her eyes out. She says, you don't understand what happened to you. She says, when the night before my children were born, my mother appeared to me in a dream, and she said in Yiddish, finif far finif. 5 for 5. And I said, Mama, in the dream, what do you mean, finif far finif? She repeated, finif far finif. The next day she gave birth to, unbeknown to her, at the time, she gave birth to quintuplets. 5 children. The Keres 8. She never understood what her mother meant. Now she understands. Your Moiser